Yeah, I think, I heard Eric's answer earlier. I think he's the best center in the league. I think he's one of the best interior linemen in the league. Major part of the team here. Somebody we'd love to have back. He's obviously in I feel like players, there's the rules are what they are as far as like your contract and earning free agency. So I respect all that. I think he knows how we feel about him, and that we'd love to have him back. I think he's a major piece of our offense. I think he fits really well into the direction our offense is headed. So a guy that we'd love to have back, but certainly respect the idea of free agency as well.
Jesse, the Ravens are coming off a season where they had a bona fide pass rush, struggled to generate pressure, and now have multiple edge rushers entering free agency. How do you expect to tackle this offseason and really fill what I believe is the biggest hole?
Yeah, pass rush is there's a lot of factors, I would say, that go into rushing the passer well. Sometimes it's playing with the lead. Sometimes it's blitzing more. So I think there's a lot of variety of ways to affect the pass rush. I feel like we have some guys that can do that, some young ascending players in that regard that can help us there. And then I think it's always a position that you're looking, for more. And so I know Eric and the guys will do a great job attacking free agency in the draft, building a team that in September that we feel has the ability to rush the passer. Yeah, great question. Number one, production, and I think there's a size, speed, length element. We're kind of a requirement. There may be guys that maybe are an inch or two shorter, but then they bring something else really above the level. And so there's a really wide variety of guys this year that have been really productive. Some that are third and fourth year, some that are fifth and sixth year, the way college works now. So I feel like there'll be a lot of guys in the draft that could potentially help in that regard.
We'll get back to head coach Jesse Minter in just a second, but I do got to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button down below because we've got you covered for anything you could want regarding the Baltimore Ravens right here on the Ravens Rundown. We got boots on the ground at the NFL Combine here at Chat Sports. We're going to have that thing covered wall to wall, and then we got free agency coming up, the NFL Draft, mini camp, training camp, the perfect reason to hit that sub button. $0, 0 cents, daily coverage right here at the Ravens Rundown. Now let's get it back to Coach.
Yeah, every interview is different. Every team, every situation, I think you look at as its own thing. The rules, I think, of how they do it, I think are beneficial to guys in the playoffs. So we played in the first round and wasn't able to even talk to anybody until after that, and obviously wish we would have kept playing. But so for me, it allowed me to really focus on my job and then flip gears to the interview process. And then the timing of it, like, oftentimes you feel like it's going to be something where it's a rush to a decision, but in reality with the rules, you get to go through the process. There's rules of Zooms, there's rules of in-person. Nothing really felt like it had to be rushed. And so you really just respect the process, respect all the different teams that you're able to visit with, and ultimately landed where I wanted to land. They're all different, especially the first ones, just the roughly between a 90-minute and 3-hour Zoom. It's hard to really get a gauge. I think if you're confident and you feel good about your plan, you're like, okay, I think I did well in that interview. But, at the end of the day, everybody's looking for what they're looking for. You're looking for a good fit, and certainly blessed to end up here. Very similar, I would say. I know Eric's the best in the business at his position and building a team and running the draft, which he's done there for years. I think I'm able to help evaluate players. Our coaching staff really dive in position-wise to evaluate players. We probably followed a very similar process in LA. And so it's been exciting and fun for me to look at offensive players, look at the other side of the ball from what I've done. And so excited about that, excited about any help, but know that we have a great group in place to run that part. I think for how we play scheme-wise, they're important, and they can be highlighted. They can be moved around to impact the game. When you do a variety of coverages and different pressures, you can move that guy where you want to move him. And I think those type of players, they're weapons. They're not necessarily a nickel or a safety or a linebacker or a corner. They're kind of a weapon. And when they have that ability to impact the game, the more you can put them in position to do that, the better off. When you're evaluating those guys, they come in all different forms. Right now, there's that big safety guy with length, guy that can cover ground, that can also play man. I think that's kind of showing up throughout the league. But man, couldn't be more happy to have Kyle Hamilton.
Jesse, when you look at the cornerbacks for the Ravens, not Marlon's best year last year, hopefully just kind of up and down. Where do you see need for improvement there, and how do you view that improvement?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of capable players in the secondary. I think it's an area. It's really an area for myself that I spend a lot of time with, and I think from a leverage standpoint, from a knowing where your help is, how you're playing different coverages, I hope to be able to get the best out of the guys that we have, and then obviously potentially add people like you do every year, in the draft, free agency, undrafted free agents. But I like the room, and I like the ability in there. They've all played well at times. They've all done different things really well. So looking forward to working with that group.
Just to follow up on that, I think Nate put on social media a couple weeks ago that you've undergone an off-season operation. Is there anything you can share on that?
Yeah, I'll keep that between Nate and myself and the organization. But he's a guy that I loved coming out from Clemson in the draft process. Very excited to work with him. And I think he can, I think there's still a lot of room in his game. And I know he knows that, and I know he's excited to work with us. And so look forward to him having a big year.
During your intro press conference, you said relationships with players, things that how would you describe that progress with Lamar, and you just posted yesterday and working out with him how it's awesome.
Yeah, I think, Lamar and I's relationship, I'll probably try to keep pretty private. But it is always ongoing and always, trying to be in communication. And so just look, like I said at the very beginning, it takes time to build the trust and the communication and the openness that you really want to create with all the players. And so always working towards that. But I'd love to see him put in the work.
Jesse, you guys built out the offensive staff. Obviously, the ties to Declan and the staff. What did you see from them? What did they talk to you? All of these put this on.
Yeah, number one had gone against them, really 4 times over the last 2 seasons. And so heard a lot of great things about those guys. Had a real previous relationship with Kerry, probably more so than any of them. And then when Declan and I started to build out the offensive staff, certainly a place where he felt familiar with a lot of those guys. And so just love like the different levels of expertise, levels of experience that they all bring to really help put Declan in the best position to be an elite play caller for us. Yeah, the AFC North's always been an unbelievable division. I think it's a little bit in transition this year, for the first time in a while when you've had John and Mike for so many years. Zach's obviously now like the guy that's been there the longest. Elite quarterback, elite skill players, I think an improving defense. So, you're going to have your hands full every time you play them. Pittsburgh, same thing, now bringing in Mike McCarthy. Tons of respect for him. So going from a kind of a defensive background with Mike to now more of an offensive coach. And then same thing with Monk in Cleveland. Guy that obviously everybody in our building is familiar with. Know he'll do a great job. And really just look forward to competing with all those guys. Yeah, definitely have kept up with Mike over the years as he's gone on his own journey of coaching. Done an unbelievable job at Notre Dame. They probably, arguably, the last 4 or 5 years, maybe the most consistent secondary rankings in the college level. And so he's just gotten better and better. He's a really good communicator. I think he's a really good evaluator. and I think he's a technician. And his mindset from playing corner at a really high level, I think will translate well to our guys to, be really competitive, have that down after down mentality, the next play mentality that we're looking for, and couldn't be more excited to add Mike. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I think, it's an O-line, D-line driven league. When you look at the last few, just look at the Super Bowl winners of the last couple years. I think that's really where you start, is like, how have these teams won that final game? And 2 years ago, it was the Eagles, like O-line, D-line driven. This year, Seattle, same deal. So I think that's an area that you're always looking to get better. I think there are some good pieces there. And so it'll be about coaching them up, developing them more, and then adding some pieces to help us get to that level.
As a head coach, what's your style on teaching and practicing tackling, and how do you try to make guys better tacklers?
Yeah, great question. Tackling is a core fundamental of football, and so I think you have to find really creative ways to practice it without necessarily tackling your own offensive players all the time. I think the approach to making a tackle is maybe the most important thing. So your angle to the ball and your body control when you're coming down to make a tackle. So those are things that we really, really harp on every day, whether we're in pads or just helmets or whatever. So look forward to working with the guys on that. It's a major piece of the game. I think for us as a coaching staff, it's a touch point with the players, and it's the ability to, the scouts have put in a ton of work. The personnel side's already done a lot of their work, and we're now jumping into the fray, I guess, and starting our own process of evaluation. And so any chance you have to get around them, whether it's a 20-minute, 15-minute, an informal interview, see them how they operate, it's just a data point. It's not the be-all, end-all. But for us, I feel like it's an important part of the evaluation process.
A guy like Derwin James, Kyle Hamilton, do you have a name for what that position is? For what you call that guy? Do you call him safety? Do you call him linebacker? A star?
They're just a weapon, and I'm not really going to talk about what we label the guys in our defense, but I think they're just weapons, and they can play so many different positions. They can thrive in so many different positions, and it's about finding ways for them to most impact the game. Yeah, I think everything is personnel driven. What the guys do well driven. Dwayne's one of the best O-line coaches in the league. Was super excited to get him on the staff, and so I think, the coach's job on both sides of the ball is to see what we have, see what we could possibly be best at, see what fits into our style of play with our guys, and so we'll do that. And I think it could be a wide variety of run schemes that we use.
Coach, when you're talking about personnel and roster construction here, how much stock would you put into adding players who are already familiar with your system, and how much would you lean on those guys that are already in the building and the roster that you currently have in terms of implementing those schematics next year?
I don't put a ton of stock into that. I feel confident in our coaching staff to teach our system and what we need to teach. So I think that can be helpful, particularly maybe like a mid-season move can be helpful. But I think if you get a guy now, you got plenty of time to teach them what they need to do. We're still in the middle of kind of formulating our system for the 2026 Ravens. It's not the Chargers defense or the old Ravens defense. It's we're kind of figuring that out right now. So we're looking for the best players that sort of fit structurally how we want those certain positions to be able to play, the jobs we need them to be able to do, and kind of piecing it together that way.
Just wide receivers, it seems like Ravens get blocked to a lot. You have Zay as a weapon. Is there a particular type of wide receiver that you think would complement kind of his skill set?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, receivers similar, like they're weapons on offense, and so they come in all different shapes and sizes, I would say. So guys that can be impactful with the ball in their hands, that can make, I think as I've started watching them, it's like, can they get open? Can they separate at the top of routes? Can they make contested catches, which just about every catch in the NFL is probably going to be contested in some way. And then when they, like, how do they play without the ball as well? Like, what type of teammate are they? How do they play without the ball? You're only going to get the ball in a great game, 8 or 9 times, in a normal game 4 or 5 times. So can they impact the game in other ways? And so that's a great group of wideouts this year, and certainly look forward to continuing the evaluation process with all those guys.
Two more.
How complex defenses are. What is, I guess, the importance of the center in a modern offense like this?
The importance of the center position? Yeah, I mean, it's a guy that certainly could control a lot of the communication with the offensive line, see fronts, help the quarterback. Those guys can work in tandem. Sometimes seeing blitzes, protections, run schemes. And so, yeah, it's in any offense, I would say that's a major position. Thank you. Yeah, I've spoken with him. I keep those conversations private. I think that'll be up to him, when the time's right. I know he's in great spirits, and it was great to see him in the building last week or the week prior. And so we'll keep the rest of that private.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you.